Welcome back, everybody. I'm Jay. He's Maddie. This is Yankee and the Brit Sports Talk. And today we are going to review Super Bowl 56. But first, I got to do a shout out. Shout out to Team Peixoto sending me some dope gear. Team Peixoto sent me a whole bag of swag, putting us on Team Peixoto. So thank you very much. Also, shout out to Overtime Hustling for having me on Turf Tales to let me talk to Minnesota Vikings running back Alexander Madsen. It was such a great time. I had a blast. It was literally like hanging out with the boys without having to leave your house or any of the cleanup. It was great.
Yeah, I've got a shout out as well. Shout out to class 7S2, whose handwriting takes up all of my time to read. They really need to sort out their handwriting.
Well, Maddie,
no, but I saw your show with Madison, and it's very exciting to have somebody
you saw
that
how
you know.
I squeezed you in there, right? Like I was like, the Brit wanted me to tell you thanks for letting it help or having you help him beat me in fantasy. That was great of you. That was really awesome. He goes, and it just made me laugh when he was like, "My bad."
My bad. No. You're good, man. You're good.
No, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was great. So I just had to shout them out because that was awesome. So, Maddie, as we get to this Super Bowl, should we start with the Bengals first and then work into the champions so we talk about them both? But I want to, where do you want to start?
Yeah, let's go Bengals. Let's talk about what happened with them. You go first.
This is what I saw. This is me, okay? Joey Burrow in the regular season balled out. But Joey Burrow in the playoffs was not the Joey Burrow of the regular season. And I know a lot has to do with O-line and different things, but think about this. So against Tennessee, he has 9 sacks, 348 yards, but 0 touchdowns, okay? In the playoffs, he has a quarterback rating, a QBR of 40, which is below average. And in the last 5 drives of that game, once they went up in the Super Bowl by 7 points, 20-13, it was 4 punts and a turnover on downs. And besides that big play to Higgins, which we can say was a penalty because it was, but we'll get to the penalties, and I got no problem with the refs, the way he spun Ramsey around by his face. And then that one-handed catch by Jamar Chase, if you take those 2 plays out of that game, he's only 20 for 31 for 122 yards. His offensive line didn't help him, but he did not help his team at the right times either. And I know it's easy to say that because Aaron Donald was in his face. Von Miller was in his face. But part of what happened is Joey Burrow could not be the regular season Joey Burrow because the Rams were at him. And I'm not blaming – I know it sounds like I'm blaming Joey Burrow right now. I'm not. This wouldn't have happened if they would have addressed the offensive line.
Yeah, I mean, the reason that they lost this game is the reason that we thought they would never get to this game at the start of the season. So at the start of the season, me and Jay basically went, the only things that the Cincinnati Bengals really need to fix, like number one thing that they need to do, and just wrote offensive line in massive letters on both of our notepads when we were doing our what this team needs to do. And look, the pick for Jamar Chase, that's gone well for them. That's worked out really well for them. Picking him over Penei Sewell. I mean, Penei Sewell's had a good season in Detroit. Picking him over Rashawn Slater, like arguably maybe not as well because Rashawn Slater looks great at the Chargers, but Jamar Chase looks like a kind of once in a lifetime talent that they can have for a very long time. So I don't disagree with them taking them the first round, but to not really address the offensive line in free agency, like they have don't they have the most cap space in the NFL and they're in the Super Bowl? Like imagine if they use that cap space. Imagine if their owner spent some money, gave them outdoor facilities, addressed the offensive line through the free agency market. There was plenty of free agency movement in the offensive line this season. Like Joe Tooney, what difference could he have made going up against Aaron Donald? Like that kind of player.
Well, move back up too, because if you look, so the Vikings take Christian Darrisaw, and yes, he was injured part of the year, but if you look at PFF over the last 8 games, he had an 88 pass rush or pass block, right? Like, so there was a chance they had enough high picks that they could have moved back up and got a dude on that offensive line to go along with Chase. They stayed pat and they were building the way, of just sit, take our picks, whatever. But I don't understand why you didn't go after guys like Wyatt Davis or other guys who might have been able to help that team in the later rounds. Or we've talked about Dixon over and over at center, like with the draft. Why they didn't like spend more on the offensive line, even in the second, third, fourth round, is what really baffles me. Just to add on to your point.
Yeah, that kind of thing. It just doesn't make any sense to have not addressed that. With that being said, with that being said, Joe Burrow got sacked 70 times if you include the regular season and the postseason. So I'm not willing to really. You can't take those plays out because those plays are only there because they're the only 2 times the offensive line held up. Like if you look at last play of the game where Joe Burrow gets spun around and has to fling it out in the air, Jamar Chase is free down the field. There's a game-winning touchdown on a play if the offensive line can hold up for one more second. There's the game winner is on a plate down there if they can hold up. So I understand where you're coming from with Joe Burrow. I think he began to get, once they went 7 points up, I think he got a little flustered on that final drive. And that's a great comparison with what happened with Matthew Stafford. And it's a great comparison of the experience because Matthew Stafford, although he's been on the Detroit Lions, has managed to somehow bring that Detroit Lions team on quite a number of fourth quarter comebacks. And he did the same thing last night. And he never looked worried. He looked very calm, like forcing the ball into the end zone for the interception, stupid throw, going for it all, but never mind. But he was like in that fourth quarter comeback touchdown drive, he played very calm, played really well, and Joe Burrow didn't have that in their last drive. He was kind of throwing the ball away too early. There's still 50 seconds left in the game. You can still make plays. You still have some timeouts. Like they can still make plays with their feet in that part of the game. And what I don't understand is, yes, they have the third down quarterback. Is his name P. Ryan? So P. Ryan, something like that. But they tried this same power run with P. Ryan to get the fourth down in the first half, and it didn't work. So he tried it on the third down. But why not bring Mixon in there? Why not just say, right, fuck situational football just for a second. We've got an incredible running back who just seems to make things happen. And do you think, and with Mixon's speed, do you think that Aaron Donald could have caught onto him? And we'll move on to Aaron Donald in a second. That was a weird play for me to not put Mixon in if you're going to run, because I like the run. 3rd and 1, they're protecting deep. I like the run, but maybe with Mixon, just sometimes put your biggest players on the field in the biggest moments.
Well, yeah, he's faster. He's got better vision. He's got quick feet. I agree with you. I don't know if he'd have made it or not because Donald's a beast or that front line's a beast, but I would have been more comfortable with Joe Mixon taking that shot. Also, we've talked about it before. There's times for analytics. This time in the Super Bowl on 3rd and 1 is not time for analytics. It's time to get your best players on the field to make plays at the most important times. Like we talked about man-alytics, not always analytics, right? Let's get the toughest dudes or the best dudes on our team that have shown it over a year or more, put them out there. So I'm with you. Why not give it to Mixon? Because he's been the guy who's picked up those tough yards for you for the last year.
Yeah, he got 82 yards for 15 carries. Why aren't you in the second half when you go up by 7 points? Why aren't you running it more? The reason they weren't running it more is whatever the name is of that defensive tackle who just like everybody's focused on Aaron Donald and saying like he's the fucking shit, but and he is the shit. Defensive tackle who has as many sacks as him, Aaron Donald, fantastic. Whoever the other defensive tackle is, I think it's Stevenson, something like that. Played 50 like. He was incredible, like at stopping the run. Number 51 was incredible at stopping the run. Their linebackers really stood up strong. So I understand why they kind of went away from the run, but when you're 7 points up, you've just got to run for the sake of it, which is something that Sean McVay learned after his first Super Bowl, and it's something that he showed later on, and it's something that Zach Taylor will endeavor to improve if they make it to a Super Bowl again. So yeah. Fix the offensive line. Weird calls in some of the run in some of the plays. And Joe Burrow, I do agree with you. I think Joe Burrow got a little bit flustered on that last drive, but I would be flustered too if I was expected to go down the field in a Super Bowl when my offensive line has let me get sacked 70 times this season. They're going to lose Joe Burrow if they keep on doing that. They need that, right? You've proved you've got everything now, Cincinnati. You've proved you've got the wide receiver core. Their defense. Let's talk about their defense for a second. They were incredible. That Wilson linebacker was fantastic. He was great. You've proved you've got everything. First round of the draft, take an O lineman if there's one there. If there's not one there, give up all of your draft picks to get a fantastic left tackle or some offensive lineman on a trade, or if there's somebody in free agency, I expect to see you in there. This owner does not deserve this team if he is going to fuck it up by not giving them the money that they require.
No, I agree with you. I think a lot of what went on with Cincinnati was this year they got hot at the right time. I'm not saying they're the Giants, but they did the right thing. They probably, well, I'm not even going to argue. They were not the best team in the AFC this year. They were the best team in the AFC in the playoffs. But that's what you have to have. Also, they're very young, and everybody says, oh, they're going to be back. I hope so. You just never know. I mean, Dan Marino. And if I'm not mistaken, and somebody correct me or you correct me if I'm wrong, because I can't think off the top of my head, but with Brady and Roethlisberger now retiring, I don't think there's a quarterback in the NFL that's been to more than one Super Bowl.
What?
With Brady and Big Ben gone, I think there's no quarterbacks left playing who have been to multiple Super Bowls.
Patrick Mahomes.
Oh, was he? Oh, yes. There you go. There
Russell Wilson.
Okay, but you get what I'm saying.
Russell Wilson made it to 2?
Yeah, there's not. Yeah, Russell Wilson. Well, I did.
Yeah.
But the day of where we had 5 or 6, that's why I said somebody will remind me. The day of 5 or 6 quarterbacks of being to multiple Super Bowls, we're moving into a new generation was my point. I guess I should have just said it that way, where we're coming to the new generation of players. So there's not a ton of guys. There's not the Bradys. There's not the Roethlisbergers. Like, Peyton Manning's gone now too. Like, so this era of having multiple quarterbacks going to multiple Super Bowls, even though, yes, thank you, you named 2, that era is gone and this young era is coming up. So maybe Joe Burrow makes it back to one. But with the quarterbacks that we have young in the NFL and the quarterbacks in the AFC, I mean, especially the AFC, it's going to be really, really hard for them to get back.
Yeah, I'm very excited to watch Justin Herbert, Joe Burrow, Pat Mahomes, Josh Allen duel it out to see who's going to be the next. Nobody's going to be the next Brady. I'm not willing to say that.
And as of right now, it's still
who's going to be
Lamar. Lamar's in the AFC.
Yeah.
We don't know what's going on with Deshaun Watson. Rodgers may end up in the AFC. This is like one of those weird things where some of the best quarterbacks in the NFL might be all sitting in the AFC next year. And if you're Joey Burrow in Cincinnati, it's like, oh, we may have missed this window. I hope not, but that may have happened.
I think they've got an incredibly young team, and I think they've built it in the right way, apart from the offensive line, which is possibly the most important thing that you should be building first. But anyway, they've got what they do have is clearly a culture of winners on there. When you look at people like Joe Burrow, McPherson, and that's why I thought they were going to get it done when it was going into the final half of the fourth quarter, and they were still 6 points ahead. I was like, they're going to get this done. Like, they're a team that gets this shit done. Like, that's how that's how they've kind of made it to this point. They've got good defensive linemen without necessarily having a star. That's kind of what you want, because then you don't have to waste all of your, well, not waste, but you don't have to pay massive money on your defensive line. They seem to have a really good cornerback core with Awuzie, Eli Apple. It's kind of like the island of misfit toys back there. I know Eli Apple didn't have the best game, but he's an experienced and decent cornerback.
Did you see the shot like Tyreek Hill took at him on Twitter? It was not very nice, but I'm not gonna lie, it made me laugh.
Yeah, it's a bit fucking rubbing your face in it though. After you've just I'm not sure whether I like that from Tyreek Hill, because he had all the weapons to get there and wasn't there. Like they beat you, so shut the fuck up. Like you know what I mean? Um, but it's like the Island of Misfit Toys in the cornerback room. I love that. Like I absolutely love that. Just a load of people who didn't fit anywhere else, and you're not going to necessarily have to pay them big money. So if they can get this offensive line right, I don't see any reason for them not to be there. I don't know where personally I would look where else they can improve apart from the offensive line. I don't know whether you have any comments on that.
I think they need to there's places they need to get depth or younger or they're going to have to add to those cornerbacks because like we said, Eli Apple's not going to be there forever. He's like as old as Dumbledore. I don't remember how old he is, but you know what I mean? So and no, this isn't all on Eli Apple, but he sure got beat up at the worst possible times in that game. But that happens. You're a corner. You're on an island. You can't always come. The best corner in the league got burnt a couple times last night.
Jalen Ramsey looked like dog shit last night.
Yeah, let's be real. So that's another thing we're going to hit on is the penalties. But before we go over to the Rams, let's hear a word quick from our boy Cuzzo.
What up, y'all? This your boy Cuzzo, host of the Chronicles podcast and also the host of Overtime Reactions. And let me tell y'all something, man. Y'all make sure to go check out Yankee and the Brit Sports Talk. Them guys are knowledgeable. They have good content. Go support them, man. Go check them out on Facebook, Instagram, and definitely tune in to MMA Underground Weekly, man, where they have guests, great commentary, let you know about upcoming events, promotional material, all that, man. Go check them out. Yankee and the Brit, what up? Salute from your boy Cuzzo. Holla.
All right, Maddie, before we get into the penalties, because we will get there because that's going to be a discussion. When it comes to the Rams, this is what I want to say, and I'm just going to get out of your way because it's a couple things, and you can tell me what you think about it and then add to it. I truly believe if OBJ does not get hurt, that game's not even close because Cooper Kupp at the end of the game just drove down the field, and they knew it was going to him. If you had OBJ that whole game, good luck trying to cover all three of those receivers. The missed extra point really hurt because it would have been a different game. And how Matt Stafford throws 2 picks and you still let him win that game, again, is kind of on Cincinnati. But I got to say that the Rams defense stepped up, balled out when they needed to, and Cooper Kupp proved that he is the best receiver in football this year.
Yeah, 100%. I like that Cooper Kupp won the MVP, but I think Aaron Donald was robbed is where I'm going to go.
Yeah, it should have went Cole. I said that. Co-MVP.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't have even gone there. The guy won them the game. The thing is, I agree with you with OBJ. The way that OBJ was going to be the MVP of the Super Bowl. Like just the way that he was playing, and I was so happy for him. Like I was so happy with what was happening to him on that pitch, and then he goes down, and I was so bro. And just think, I'm the supporter of the team that he did the miracle catch against, and that's how much I like OBJ. That I'm willing to forgive that because we beat them anyway. People seem to forget that the Cowboys won that game anyway, but he was so incredible, and you just noticed how different they were when he went off the pitch, and I was so heartbroken for him because he was playing so well, and he fucking deserves it, man. Like he really does. But Cooper Kupp put up, what did Cooper 92 yards, 2 touchdowns, something like that.
Off. He went off.
Yeah, but Aaron Donald was the one who won them the game because the offense wasn't moving the ball. The offense didn't move the ball until the fourth quarter, really, after OBJ went off. And it's just kind of like Aaron Donald. So let's take it to those interceptions. So the interception that isn't Stafford's fault, that is it Apple? No, Awuzie gets the interception there. That's not Stafford's fault at all. Aaron Donald and the defensive line bend their backs and say, "You're not getting 3 points." They went in the red zone. It was the Bengals went 1 of 3 in terms of touchdowns, and the Rams went 3 of 3. And that just shows how touchdowns wins championships. And nowadays you can't just have your field goals and bend your back because you have the defense winning championships for you as well, especially when you have teams like players like Aaron Donald going there. So I think Aaron Donald was robbed of the MVP of the Super Bowl vote personally. The other things that I've got a comment on there is Jalen Ramsey was getting burnt and things like that. I'm not entirely sure how they won it. They won it, and I do know how they won it, actually. They won it because they have the most experienced quarterback, who in the fourth quarter was the difference. Does Jared Goff win them that game? No. Matt Stafford is the one who won them the game in the end, and I know Aaron Donald makes the great play, but Matthew Stafford being the one who just went, right, let's cool this off. Let's just drive down the pitch. Let's go do this. I've done it a million times before with worse teams than this, even without OBJ. I've done it a million times before without worse teams than this. And he takes them down and they score the touchdown. That trade is a win for the Rams. It can still be a win for the Lions, but it's a win for the Rams. And well done, Matthew Stafford. He's not going to get the praise that Tom Brady got for doing exactly the same thing last year. He's not going to get that praise, but he should. And it's an incredible feat that he's gone to.
Well, two things. One, with Jalen Ramsey, yes, he absolutely bit on that curl route from Chase and got burned. And if Chase doesn't stumble, that's a touchdown. But to be fair, with the Higgins play, he did get like his mass grab spun completely around on the touchdown. So that's, but that, where I feel they've done co-MVP. What was that? Sorry.
He was out of position already on that. Like, it's more of a, I it's not going to be a touchdown. Get his face
mask grabbed, he smacks that ball out of the air.
I don't know. I think he's going.
I really wish we could run video. I wish the NFL would let us run video so we could watch it and, like, you know what I mean?
Analyze it. Have you seen the referee's statement on that play?
No.
So, and I said it was a face mask at the time, but I understand where they're kind of coming from when they say it like this. So basically, what they're saying is that it's not a grab and turn of the head; it's just Ramsey's falling to the ground because he's in the wrong position, and Higgins' finger kind of goes into the face mask, but Higgins is running at the same time. So it's not like a grab and like throw of his face mask. It's his finger goes
let's be real. If that goes the other way, that's defensive pass interference. So that was, that's kind of, but I don't even have a problem 100%. With that. And for the co-MVPs, they've done it before. And the reason I feel it should have been on that last drive for the Rams, everybody knew every play was going to Cooper Kupp, and they still could not stop him. And then they score, and Aaron Donald says, Cooper, you did your job. Matt, you did your job. I got this. And the last two plays of that drive were Aaron Donald. Like, that's what sealed the game. So I just feel like Cooper Kupp, Aaron Donald, last minute of the 2 minutes of the game, they owned it. So I would not have a problem with a co-MVP. But I get what you were saying. I do have to ask, though, Maddie, were you mad at the penalties? Because for me, I wasn't. They let that one go on Ramsey. There was kind of a shady, like, touchy one in the end zone at the end of the game, but you can't be draped all over a receiver. And they didn't score on that play. You actually, as a Bengals fan, scored on the play with Ramsey. And then, so I don't have a problem with the reffing. People have been asking, give it a grade. I gave it a B. I didn't think it was horrible. I think it was one of the better ref games. And did the Rams get away with a false start? Probably.
I think if you're going to let him play, then you've got to let him play. You can't say, because it's the last play of the game. I don't mean to cut you off,
but then as a defensive player, I'm just tackling you before you get the ball on the last drive.
Oh, yeah. Like, oh, no. Right. So look at the same thing. The same thing happened in the first half, basically, where I think it's Jamar Chase is getting tugged all over and stuff like that in the end zone for the Bengals, and they don't call it. That's what I was referring to. The Higgins thing, I think it's a face mask. I understand where the referees are coming from saying it's not. Fine. I that's kind of an outlier because that's such a weird play. But the one that I'm comparing it to is there was shirt pulling. They were letting them play the entire game, and then they kind of say for the last 2 minutes, oh no, you're not allowed to. We're going to ref this game completely differently for the last 2 minutes. And
give him a grade.
I find that annoying about the NFL, but I understand it was a penalty. It was definitely a holding penalty for the rest of the season, but for the rest of that game, it wasn't a holding penalty. So just a bit. Stop reffing the games differently in the last 2 minutes, and stop reffing the games differently in the playoffs. Like, make your bed, lie in it, ref the game the same, and then you won't have this controversy because you'll have tit for tat all over the pitch. And I don't hate the call. I don't hate the call. I think the refs played well. I just think
give him a grade.
If you're going to let him play, you have to let him play. If you're going to go tit for tat calls, then go tit for tat calls. Like the players then adjust. The players then adjust to what the referee's doing. We do it in rugby all the time. Like, it's a, yeah.
What's the grade?
B-, C+.
Okay.
I'm not.
They've been running D and F all season, so season B's ain't bad at this point. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's good progressive learning. Yeah, definitely. It's just a bit like, ref the game the same in the first 2 minutes and the last 2 minutes. Like, that's the next. We would call that a target goal in teaching for their next step forward. That's their progress tracker target, is to ref the game the same in the first 2 minutes and the last 2 minutes.
So we'll end this with 2 questions I got for you, okay? Because these are hot button topics on the internet right now. First question: Matthew Stafford, now a Hall of Famer with that win?
Undoubtedly.
I agree. A lot of the internet does not. But so you and I agree on that.
No doubt. Like, first ballot. Like, no doubt.
Yeah, and I know Richard Sherman shit all over him, but like, it's like, oh, he doesn't have any MVPs. He doesn't have this. Like, bro, he played 12 years in fucking Detroit and he's still alive. That alone might want to get you into the conversation. And then in your 13th year, you're like, I'm out of here. And you go win a Super Bowl, kind of proves to me the talent that was wasted in Detroit.
Yeah, 100%. And it wasn't like, so the difference between him and Brady is said to be this. So Brady comes from winning culture to Tampa Bay, which is a losing culture, losing his team in the NFL before he got there, and losing his team in American sports history until he got there, or something ridiculous like that. Whereas the Rams are like nicely built up culture, they go to the Super Bowl, but the dude's coming from fucking Detroit. Imagine all the terrible habits that he's learned there. He's never had any good coaching for 12 years since he came into the NFL. Like Tom Brady learns from Bill Belichick, learns from the best culture in the NFL. Matt Stafford does not know what a good culture looks like, and he comes in to a good culture and wins the entire thing. And they win from the 4th seed. Look at the teams who they've had to go through as well. They dismantled the Cardinals. The Cardinals kind of fell off the edge there. They beat the Bucks as well, and they beat the Green Bay Packers. Did they play the Packers?
49ers.
They beat the 49ers, another division rival who had just beaten the Packers, and they were hot. They were the Cincinnati Bengals of the NFC. Like, they were hot, and they've just beaten them in week 17. Just look at that run. Look at the final drive, the game-winning drive that they put together. That is down to Matt Stafford. So, Hall of Famer for me, no doubt.
So then my last question, because this has been one that's been riding the internet a lot the last 2 days. Did Joey B let down the Bengals? Do you think Burrow let his team down?
Just by getting to the playoffs, Joey B made the Bengals.
No, I meant in the game. In the Super Bowl game, do you feel he let down? That's the argument. He let down the Bengals in the Super Bowl game. I don't agree. I don't know how much better he could have played with a bad offensive line, but that's the online question, so I thought I'd throw it to you.
No, the Bengals let down Joe Burrow. They have this talent. They're training outdoors. They have no offensive line. He gets sacked 70 times in a season. They're going to get him killed. I mean, if he gets sacked 140 times in 2 seasons, do you think he's going to be playing in the 3rd season? considering he got nicked in the Super Bowl as well, considering the injury he had in his first year. If I'm Joey Burrow, I'm saying fix this offensive line this year, or I'm sitting out and going to another team in year 4.
Yeah, I watched the Texans literally ruin David Carr as a rookie first-round draft pick by getting him murdered like 150 times in 3 years or whatever it was, 180. It was ridiculous. And I've watched it happen, and Joey's taking those hits, and it still keep moving forward. Says a lot about him, but he's not going to have knees, ankles, or a back if they keep getting him hit the way they let him get hit.
Yeah, it's the Bengals have this amazing fan base. Like, look, people think the Bengals are kind of lame because they have the tiger stripes on their helmet and they call their place the jungle, whatever. I think they have a great fan base, a loyal fan base. I would love to go to Cincinnati. It seems like a really nice city to kind of live in, like a lot of great stuff to do. It's a nice that they have a good football team. Like, I really, really like that. Like, one of the biggest NFL podcasts in the UK is around the NFL, and one of the hosts on that died of, I think it was cancer 2 years ago, and he's from Cincinnati, so the British media who watch stuff on Sky all the time have this connection to the Cincinnati football team, and it's great. It's great to see them in the Super Bowl. I really like their fan base, and I hope they just don't waste it. And if their owner can't say, right, we've got to the Super Bowl, maybe it's time to start investing in this team. Because I understand why I didn't do it before, because they didn't have shit. The GM wasn't doing anything with all those top draft picks. But now you have something. You have it right there. You have something. Go spend some free agent money. Or if you're not going to spend the free agent money, then spend it on an indoor facility so your offensive lineman can fucking train on how to actually play offensive line. That'd be great. Like, come on, like, spend the money now. It's time.
Well, I agree with you. The only thing holding back Cincinnati at this point is ownership. I think we both agree it was a really fun game. I think, if I'm not mistaken, this is 7 games at Super Bowls now that have come really close down to the end or to overtime, which we were used to blowouts before that. Games were so it's been really nice to watch. I do know Maddie and I next week are going to come and give you the Yankee and the Brit NFL awards from us. So we'll see if we get anywhere close to the AP awards or the ESPN awards, but we're going to give you our Yankee and the Brit awards. Also, make sure you tune in tomorrow for MMA Underground and Thursday for Marked Out Podcast, which the first episode is already out. It was pretty fire. I am actually impressed on how the first podcast actually kind of took off. I'm really happy for Dustin and Devin. I think they're doing – I sat and watched it because I was – producing it from behind the scenes. I don't know shit about pro wrestling, and they entertained me. So that's actually saying something. So keep your eye open for that. And a new episode of Real Talk with comedian and hip hop artist Lonnie Dangerous on Friday. But I'm excited, Maddie, for you and I to do our Yankee and the Brit Awards next week.
Yeah, and I mean, if you guys who watch, so this show is the one that's on Facebook all the time, and the MMA Underground, we have our faces on Facebook all the time. If you're looking where to get the other stuff, it's all on that little icon right there. This one, the YouTube icon right down at the bottom there. Make sure you go subscribe to us on that, because we're getting up in the subscribers. It's very, very nice. Finally, we're getting some traction on YouTube. So go over there to see all of our new shows and things like that. And that was the last game of the season, and we're not going to see another game now for a very long time.
7
but
months.
This is where our creative minds go to work. This is where we start to come out with our best content, because we actually scour the internet for stories to tell you guys. And most importantly, we're going to have a lot of guests on soon.
All right, guys, I'm really excited for the off-season podcast, which sounds kind of weird, but Maddie and I think, have some really cool ideas coming up. So I think we'll have some fun with it. And then, free agency and the draft will give us a lot to talk about. But
my favorite time of year.
Man, guys, way to wrap up a season of the NFL. Thanks for riding with us through the whole season. It was a lot of fun. And don't miss the off-field content we got coming, or the off-season, I should say, content we have coming. Again, thanks for watching. One world, one love. Deuces.
Cheerio.